what about all those quotes you've sent out? The amount of times I'm asked, I'm sending out quotes and I'm looking at responses and I hear the words like tar kickers or time wasters or, how many times do you follow up before you give up and all these sort of things. Let's just first of all take a few steps back. Number one, if you're calling it quote, you're basically saying to the client, look at the price. Now, if your strategy is to be the cheapest, you probably won't even be watching this video, but if it is your strategy, then that's fine. Tell them, look at the price. But if your strategy isn't, if you believe you've aligned and you've collaborated and you've got the best solution, then stop telling them to look at the price, which is really what you're saying when you say, look at the quote. So that's the first thing. Change your internal thinking about what you're offering. You're offering a solution. You're offering here, together looking at a solution. You're not looking at the price you're not trying to sell at them, persuade them. That's not what you're trying to do. You're trying to partner, collaborate, and put forward the right solution. So I've now jumped to the end, which is the email. Let's come back a bit before that. First of all, don't ever give a price by email. When you give a price, you talk them through. You just bring them up and say, hey, let's go through it. Ideally on the phone, you then flick over a Zoom link or something like that. We have Zoom links ready done, and they're universal. You can use them all the time, and we have them ready to go at any second. So we have our Zoom open all the time, and the moment we're on the phone with somebody, you go, oh, you know what? I'm just going to flick over a link and flick it over. It's blasé. It's not like, oh, do you mind? Is it okay? Do you have time for a Zoom meeting? No, they've been like, they can't stand it. But if you go, hey, you know what might be easier there, Luke, if I walked you through this whilst looking at what you needed, and then you flick it across. You know what? I've just flicked over a link. If you want to jump on that, we can do that now. So you'll talk with confidence and certainty, not with trepidation or anxiety or subservient, okay? So now that's that bit. That's when you walk through. How do you feel about your price? When you get to the walkthrough and then you get to what it costs to invest, how do you feel about that? Do you think, you know what, that should be twice as much? Because if you do, that will come across. If you think that's a bit steep, guess what? That comes across. It will come across in the words that you say. You might go, I know it's a bit more expensive than you thought, or I know it's like you weren't looking to spend that much, or I know it's a bit pricey. And if you didn't say those words, your body and your mannerism would definitely be screaming that, because every cell in your body would be saying, that's a bit pricey. And so it will come out, right? So now let's go back a little bit further than that. What are you doing in the meeting with them to make sure they see you as the trusted advisor? Are you collaborating? Were you asking intelligent, meaningful, relevant questions? Did you really understand their situation more than anybody else they'd go to? Not because you're trying to hit out other competitors, but because you generally have a curiosity to understand them. Were you able to ask questions that they hadn't thought about, where they actually go, that's a good question, I hadn't thought about that. Can you help with that? When they do that, magic happens. Guess how they see you now? Not as an equal, nah. They now see you as a trusted advisor, the authority in your field, the subject matter expert. You have just tilted, and this is where you can now guide and educate. In fact, you've now made it that they can't afford to go anywhere else, because that's now too dodgy. Because what you've also done is what? You've made sure the value of your solution surpasses what they expected in terms of outcome. So now people find money for things they value. When you're collaborating and you're funneling, we call it exploration, discovery, uncovery, whatever you want to call it, where you come from. When you're doing that, we spend hours discussing what you find, their needs, their wants, their desires. You're going to find out what they value. In most instances, if you've got lots of quotes that are sitting out there, it's often come back to here, you haven't done a thorough discovery. You've asked 2 or 3 questions, the same as anybody else, and you've jumped through to an answer. What you need to do is absolutely go deep into how you can serve them, not by email, but by picking up the phone and understanding them. The more you understand them, the more you know how you can help them. So that's what you've got to focus on. Now, of course, there's a different strategy if you're doing 70 calls a day versus 2 a day. If you're doing 2 a day, you can do that, right? So sometimes people also qualify too quickly at that point, and they think, well, they haven't got much money, and therefore they just go in like that. It's a numbers game. Sometimes it is, but I have to tell you, again, people find money for things they value. If you're asking the right questions, they may think, I only thought it cost me $1,000, but I need all that. Yeah, what's that going to look like? And you're not saying, well, that's between 9 and 15 grand. They go, yeah, that makes sense to me. Because you are educating as you are asking questions, right? But you're also a highly skilled salesperson, which means you're reading the terrain, you're at the same pace or a little bit ahead, you're reading their personality style, you're comfortable when they go silent and they're processing what you're saying. You need to be highly skilled as a salesperson. Now, we're here at the exploration point. Let's go back another step forward. They've called up to say, can you help me? How are you on the phone the first time? Or they said, can you call me tomorrow? You have a 24-hour window to send them an email. You might be sending them a calendar invite, But how about the calendar invite says, looking forward to hearing all about, not talking to you about, but hearing all about your situation and see how I can help you. Maybe you pop on LinkedIn. Maybe you can do some comments. Maybe comments on their posts. Maybe you can post something that's going to line you up for the next day to show that you're the authority. Maybe your email that you send through, you change your signature, put a review on, keep it on point. They might go, oh goodness, Blake's going to call me up tomorrow. Well, actually, he knows his stuff. They should come to you at that point, sold on you already. How about that? Otherwise, what we're doing is the weight of importance right now during this video, how it started, was all on the end bit. What do I do with these quotes out there? Do I just keep calling up all the energy and effort, calling all those people up? Then they're not there, or they're avoiding you because they don't know how to say no. Actually, somebody else aligned with me better. You might be projecting that, oh, they haven't called me back, therefore I'll stop. All this psychology goes on. Well, how about we come all the way back? So how does that email even look? How does the follow-up email look? How did the meeting actually look? What do I do before the meeting to set myself up as the trusted advisor? There's many, many steps. Much to learn, right? So I hope that helps in terms to all those proposals out there. And instead, what will happen is you won't have loads of proposals out there. You'll have lots that you know what's happening with them out there, and you'll have the next touch point lined up. Because when you're in the meeting, when it goes to a follow-up, you immediately say to them, I'll call you back this afternoon or tomorrow with some solutions of how that would look. And the person goes, yes, okay, because you're taking charge. Because what you don't want to do is go, send an email with the price on and go, bye-bye, got no idea if you're going to open it, if you've opened it, what you think of it. They may not have read anything in your email at all. They're going straight to the price, and that is exactly what we want to avoid. You want to bring it right back here to you being the authority in your field, the subject matter expert, and the solution provider.